I'm Daniel Koster. I'm an organizer, I'm an atheist, and I'm openly secular. My mother was Catholic and my father was Jewish, so I was raised a cashew. But they sent me to Jewish school, and where we went to Jewish services and learned about the Torah. And pretty early on, it occurred to me that the only reason I was believing in all of it was because the Bible said so, or the Old Testament said so. And the only reason I trusted that as a source of information was that the rabbi said it was. And I realized it kind of stopped there. There was no Works-Cited section or any reason to assume that it traces back to any facts. So quickly it occurred to me, this isn't credible, and it was a quick jump to say, well, the whole God thing probably isn't real. After that point, I kept it quiet for quite a long time. I didn't tell my parents, I think, till I was in high school. And after that point, I read some books. I read Richard Dawkins and several other of those authors, and it occurred to me, oh, I'm not the only one who thinks this way. In fact, there are some very smart people who think this way. And that sort of gave me license to be open about it. Shortly after that, I started going to local community groups and then started the club in my high school. I was ready to go to war for the club. I was ready to pull out all the legal precedent and contact all the organizations, but it was quite easy. The person in charge of it put us right through as long as we followed the right protocol. So the institution of the high school was quite supportive of the club, but there were various agents working there who had a problem with it. Administrators putting in specific rules that made it difficult for us to do what we were doing. Of course, students taking down all of our posters with amazing speed. Some teachers who tried to slow us down. So there was pushback, but on the whole, the institution was exactly as supportive as it should have been. I decided not to take on any responsibility in the movement or do any organizing that first year. I didn't want to get burned out by building my whole life around the secular movement. And I also didn't want to commit social suicide, if you will, the first year. See, I wanted people to know me as a person first who has interests and is complete and loves music and has things that he enjoys before people just thought of me as Daniel the atheist guy. For anyone who's worried about the consequences of becoming out as an atheist and being open about it, and there is a chance that they're going to lose some of the relationships in their life. But I hope they keep in mind what I did, which is that wherever you are in the country, you're bound to find people who feel the same way you do. There are mechanisms now for finding those people. There's a broad community that stretches all over the country. As soon as I came out, I started to meet people who felt the same way that I did, and that helped me. Even though my parents weren't objecting to how I felt, it still wasn't something that they could really understand and sympathize with. But it was easy for me to find people around my area who could relate to me and who could make me feel safer about the whole thing. I would say anybody who's new to this community should start showing up at conferences. You go to a conference and it's a weekend where you're just surrounded by people who sympathize with you and who've been through the same kind of thing that you do. Anywhere that you sit down at one of these conferences, anyone you talk to is going to understand what you're experiencing and have different experiences that they can relate to, that they can relate with you and that you can compare. These conferences, you will emerge from them feeling so vitalized and so eager to take on the world and to fix all of the problems. I think anybody who's new into this would do themselves well to immerse themselves in that world.
Any other final words of wisdom?
Go Bengals.